Talent versus culture fit. What matters more?
Culture is contagious.
Change the man or change the man.
What was that?
Change the man or change the man.
If you can't change the man,
Yeah.
change the man,
Or change the man.
Yeah.
Guess what? You don't get 10 opportunities. If I come to you and have a discussion and you react poorly, I ain't doing that again.
Can we give these guys like a practical framework for how to have and handle tough conversations?
I was saying, I've got to have this hard conversation. So straight away, I was creating an environment and a frame, a mindset where I believe this was a hard conversation. This is not a hard conversation. This is a necessary conversation. How you do anything is how you do everything.
The silver lining, once you get that, the momentum that you get, it becomes like a bloody machine.
Because then it's driven by the person, their personal standards, their personal pride. I don't need to be led. I don't need to be managed. This becomes about me now. I'm holding myself accountable to the standards because these are my standards. They're not the gym standards. They're not the business standards. These are mine. And how I do everything is through those standards.
And your job is to turn this place around, starting with the culture. And you've got 90 days. How would you do it? Okay, so part one was really all about what culture really is. And it wasn't about values in a poster and the vision in the top drawer. We really got the sense that culture about the daily standards, the rituals, accountabilities, and it's really led by the team. And it's the standards you walk past, the standards you set and promote and all that kind of stuff. Part two is the playbook. I want to get into the playbook. If I was a listener, I'd be thinking, fuck, okay, I don't feel good about our culture at the moment. I definitely do have some spare parts and I can 100% see where I have not done a great job as a leader. Try my best, what I thought was my best, but I've seen the light now. So if we can kind of transition into how we take lessons from the world-class teams and install them into a 5-person studio, like literally like a small business. So the business owner finally feels like it's, there's a dream team working together because that is the ultimate dream for our owners. These guys aren't dreaming about yachts and Lambos and that's 4-hour work weeks. They are literally thinking about how do I build, $1 million business that can be like under management with a dream team that, respects me. There's mutual respect.
When we ask most of our clients, like, if this thing works or when this thing works and there's some more money around, what are you going to do with it? They don't go, new house, new boat, holiday. They go, I'll pay my team more.
Yeah.
That's the first thing they always say.
Right. Financial freedom for my team. Like I want to give them a financial future. I want to buy them new shoes. And it's like, they're such, I don't know which version, like the acts of service people. So can we get into a bit more of the how?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start, I'll open up with another question, right? So this is from she's been around for 20 something years, runs a studio south of Sydney. How does someone re-inject vision and energy into a team that has had poor leadership for a long time?
It's a good question. I mean, we've answered in some respects, but just take it back to the bare bones, I suppose. For you would start.
I would, that point that you were saying about your gym owners, they want to reinvest it back in the business. So let's call her Susie.
Yeah.
All right. So has Susie shared, is she leader of this gym? Okay. Has she shared her vision with the team? Has she shared that with the team?
She might have, like, if I know Susie, she might have shared it once.
Okay.
But
communicated it poorly and now it's in the bottom drawer at work and no one's spoken about it for 3 years.
Yeah. So I'd get her to carve time out of the week, not social time or personal time for the stuff, close the gym for a certain amount of time and say, we're going to talk about this because I want to share the vision of where we want to take things and I want you guys to have more input than me. And start off with showing that vision of the reason what's my why? What's your why for the gym? My why for the gym, as Susie is saying, is because I want to create financial freedom for you. Right.
Which is very different energy to 200 more members.
Yeah, completely.
So I can buy the building.
So then she might say, okay, so exactly. So then you've got these couple of hours, you say, all right, and you tell them to come with notepads. In your notepads, spend 10 minutes in your own space. I want you to write out what you would do if you had more financial freedom.
Oh, wow.
Right? So then they come back, then they share that they're being vulnerable. From there, how much would you need to be making to be financially free?
Yeah.
And see how you're almost in a funnel approach and you're going to come right back to how many members you need in that gym. So, and then to create that environment, so you're getting them driven, how are we going to hold ourselves accountable? all the things we've spoken about. So I'd start big picture, I'd be vulnerable, and then I'd let them in, and you really as well. I think there's a bit of an art form in terms of leading these. Like I would pick the person who's going to be the most open first. You don't pick someone who's in the corner and be like, this is a waste of my time.
Yeah,
I could be out
just
with
it's
my
a
friends.
speed hump for what you're trying to create.
Am I getting paid to be here?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Also, if you've got that one ally we spoke about in the first podcast, like get them in and give them a heads up of what you're going to be doing.
Oh, that's interesting. So, like, if you've got a Rodman,
If you got a
you got a Jordan.
You got a
Jordan.
You say yeah. You know how you want to win this.
Of course, the
championship.
one that you've like, dude, I need you.
Yeah. I need you here. Yeah. What do you think the roadblocks are going to be? Who do you think will be on board? What are some of the frustrations? And then as a leader, Susie can say, let's say if the frustrations are, I keep changing the gym timetable every fortnight. Okay. That's, is that a problem with? Maybe? Okay. Let's say hypothetically that's a problem. Susie can say, I know personally, I've probably been changing the timetable too often. This is why I've been doing it, but I'm keen to hear from you guys if you think there's a better way to do it. Today's a day. From there, then we go through all the things we've spoken about with like weekly, monthly cadences, which is your guys' area of expertise.
Shandor, let's say you walk into a studio, right? And you've inherited a team. There's 5 of them and 1 or 2 on the bench somewhere that might pop in for a weekend shift or something like that. And your job is to turn this place around, starting with the culture. And you've got 90 days. How would you do it?
So I just start, let's just say hypothetically, I don't get the opportunity, which is realistic, to have this structured meeting and everyone's going to turn up with notepads and do all the things that I ask. My first week, I'm going to intentionally go through the ultimate checklist of respect actions. I am going to take this opportunity to lead. So all these things that I know I'm going to eventually try and establish as outcomes, I'm going to relentlessly and ruthlessly express them in my actions and my behavior. When I show up, how I present myself, how I greet people, what I do when I finish the gym, I clean up, I don't walk past even a fucking piece of paper, all of these things. And people are looking at it and it's shocking, these behaviors and how much I actually give a shit, because I've never seen anyone give a shit this much about things that they perceive that don't matter. Then as an extension of that, I'm going to try and gain the individual's respect. I'm going to show them that I care. I'm going to support them. I'm not coming in there like it's the army and I'm demanding stand. I'm going to try and infiltrate into the person, gain their personal respect, showing them that I care, having conversations that have nothing to do with the gym, and try and almost befriend them and build rapport. From there, now I believe that I have an opportunity to conduct a meeting where people are going to listen because at the very least, they respect what I have to say. Now, an old Shandor might have gone into this meeting and, fuck, I've prepared the ultimate meeting and the vision and mission. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to talk for 45 minutes and you guys are all going to listen and then we're going to leave and everyone's going to do exactly what I said. But similar to what Zach said, we're going to establish what they want first. Don't reflect on the gym. What do you want as an individual? And then just like the process that Zach, how can we link those to what we want out of the gym and what I want as with my vision and mission? But there's the small opportunities that you have. Like if I want you to be vulnerable, I have to be vulnerable.
First, yeah.
You know, anything that I want you to do. So if I can establish what you want individually and link it to the greater outcomes and the goals within that meeting, I think you can finally gain some clarity on exactly what we're trying to do and exactly who we want to be. But yeah, to not repeat what Zach said, I think my first part would be I need to get from point A to point B, which is be able to have that meeting. But firstly, I need to gain the respect and the buy-in from the individual as a person. So that's my sole purpose. I'm not even thinking about getting that to that meeting and thinking that they're going to turn up and give a shit or even listen to what I have to say if I haven't ticked that box first. And if I've got 90 days, let's call it a 7-day period to achieve that. And I know that I can.
Okay.
And I'm going to be my effort level and intensity realistically will probably be 10x on what it normally would because I need to make a fucking impact and a statement.
Do you know what I reckon you'd be subconsciously doing as well because of your upbringing and your experience and the life experience, footy experience you have is remember what we said about, say, the Melbourne Storm. You know, I use that line because I try and use it with Norse is like, it's cool to be a footy nerd.
Mm.
So like when a player comes in and delivers like a preview pack on the opposition, I got a great story about a bloke called Seb Cameron who was playing third grade for Norse. We had a one-on-one over summer and he said, Beery, I want to play Super Rugby. I want to play first grade, then Super Rugby. Okay, well, this is what you need to do. He came back, mate, his quads were like this. He's a fast twitch winger, right? Fast twitch based athlete. Did sprinting back in school. Got the starting jersey and then one of our wingers from the Waratahs came back. So it was in the 23 for our final series in 2022. However, all those habits, rituals and behaviours we spoke about, like his preview points, we played Manly in a semi-final and he was on the bench and we were down by 3 points. And one of his preview points was, and I've literally screenshotted this. I've shown this to some people before. He said on kick chase, Manly sprint up and the outside channels, and there's a tunnel of space through the middle if you line up with the goalpost. Story goes, semi-final, Seb comes on off the bench. We play Manly. We're down by 3 points. Prelim final, actually, to get in the grand final. Manly kick a box kick, North Sydney Oval on our try line, goes down 40 metres. Left winger shifts to the fullback. Seb's on the right wing. Seb catches the ball. He squares up on the right edge, right foot, goes under the post and scores, right? Off the back of that, gets a deal with the Australian Sevens team, makes the extended squad for the Tokyo Olympics, and then gets signed on an extended squad for Super Rugby clubs. We got to remember is like he instigated that first thing. So we made an environment where it was cool to actually have those habits, rituals, behaviours, but be a footy nerd. I reckon in that first couple of weeks, Shandor would be saying if he sees someone picking up dumbbells and putting them back that's not from their class, I imagine you'd be calling that out to a point where it's almost you're almost squeezing mediocrity out of the gym. You know, you're drowning it out with all those behaviors. So when someone's like leaving their shit around in the gym, it's like, okay, mate, that's not on. That's not what we do here.
And remember, in that first 90 days, I'm trying to establish non-negotiables. I'm not trying to establish success. So back to the video review. And exactly what Zach said. They may do something amazing. They may make this amazing sales call, all this stuff. It's not going to be something that I speak about. What I am going to speak about is you picking up the equipment and putting it back. And your mind's going to start to shift because these people that we're talking about, our coaches and our team, everyone's chasing acknowledgement, reward in some capacity. If you're my senior staff member or my coach, I want you to acknowledge that I've done something well. Can't say that we're not chasing that. But what I'm going to acknowledge are the non-negotiable behaviors. And I'm going to keep doing it repetitively and consistently until finally you've accepted that this is the way that I'm going to be acknowledged. This is what success is. The non-negotiables are success. Because guess what? If you're doing all those actions, the outcome of success will happen.
It's
not glamorous.
No.
Not glamorous.
Not glamorous, is it?
But you have to program that into them. And if you do it consistently and it's all that you discuss and highlight and pinpoint, then the perspective will shift.
When that happens, then you can put the cream on top. Like then you can.
What's the cream?
The cream could be your stretch goals. Okay,
The fancy stuff.
Your stretch goals. You know, like okay, let's open up a new service line, a new class, a new offering. But for now, like these are the nuts and bolts of what we stand for as a gym.
And I even think the stretch goals are the basic performance KPIs. You want to have a conversation about retention goals, conversion goals, but you're not willing to do the simplest of actions that it gets there. Why are we even having this conversation? I need to get this done first.
But that's like frustration zone, right? Like everyone's going to just keep getting frustrated with each other.
And it goes back to themes, like whether you have the ability to or not, latch on to others. Like I'm sure some of the concepts that you've instilled, you've taken them from other, you don't have to create everything. We spoke about the other day in the consultancy role about it's from the book Legacy from the All Blacks. They have the pass the ball, clear the air concept. The pass the ball is a great initiative. And let's put it down to, let's just say the gym floor, right? So if you pass that on to the next person, like it's your responsibility to give that person a good pass.
Yeah.
right? And if you don't, like that's your accountability. But the equal accountability is, which isn't part of the pass the ball concept, but if you catch the ball, you've now taken responsibility for it. And if you don't clear the air and don't give the communication and feedback that, hey, it wasn't up to standard, it put me in a tough position, this isn't what we stand for, now you're responsible. So it's a two-way street. I'm responsible for passing it on, but I'm also responsible for accepting it. And that creates that communication and feedback loop that's a part of a good culture.
That's epic.
I fucking like that one.
I'm reflecting on our coach, a guy called Dan Martell. He's got private jets and Ferraris and all that kind of stuff. The thing that he goes over and over and over about is the 5 daily non-negotiables. And it's just dropping it like on me that like that's all he actually needs to talk about, because if you get that right, everything else takes care of itself.
What are they?
Open chats, feed your mind, break a sweat. Like it's just
Vision 3 times a day.
Yeah, and how many branches come off those things?
100%.
Yeah.
The next thing I'll do, the 90-day challenge, is go through the gamification process.
Oh, the scorecard?
Now we've had the meeting and you've presented what we want to be and what we want to do. Let's gamify it. How do we get excited and also have a little bit of a fear of not reaching that for that next month?
And actually hold that to account. If you're gonna have team drinks, if you can do anything from bloody lawn bowls to skydiving to Hawaii, whatever it looks like, but you're not going on it if you don't hit it. You're not going on that incentive if your team doesn't hit it, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And it's not you saying, hey, I'm not letting you go on this because we didn't hit our targets. It's like, what were our targets? What did we say we'd do if we hit them? Did we?
And you can't be crippled by fear. Consequences are inevitable. They're a byproduct in any situation. We all have to deal with it. Just because you feel like you don't have the buy-in and the respect of your team, you can't not have consequences. Not everything's sunshine and rainbows. One thing from the storm, when they asked me for my best effort, I also got a feeling that I was actually allowed to take risks and challenge myself, knowing that I could fail. But I felt like the fear of failure had been removed. So as I said, you were asking for my best effort, but I feel like I wasn't judged based on the outcome. It was based on my reaction.
Your reaction.
So I almost gave you a opportunity or an allowance to make mistakes and fail, because if I didn't, well, then I'm not trying, I'm not pushing myself. So I have to give you an allowance to make mistakes and fail. That's shifting back the responsibility. But there are terms and conditions to that. I want you to try harder. I want you to do things that are uncomfortable. I want you to push yourself. But I can't hold judgment to when you fail, come up short and make mistakes. But what I will judge is your reaction. Do you take ownership? Are you willing to accept it? Are you willing then to ask the questions or find out the source of information to improve? And then do you put it into action? If you do, that is a cycle of growth. If you can establish that, firstly, the allowance, and then the process after the fact, that for me is fucking important.
That's fucking huge. Are there, in a business or in your teams or teams you've been part of, is there a metric to track culture? And I suppose it's the scoreboard. Is it at the end of the day, or is it just more about like how to measure culture?
I know what you mean. It's a good question.
We're 7 wins in a row at the moment. 7 wins in a row coming into the finals. It wasn't always this glamorous this year. So after the grand final, we lost 14 blokes, had a new team. And there's guys at the moment who are, so the NTRs, the first clips I show, even in our preview last night, our last preview before tomorrow's game, I showed NTR clips of blokes putting kick pressure on the ringer kicker, which meant that kick then went 30 metres instead of 60 metres, which meant that our fullback returned the ball. We're in an attacking set, potentially score off rather than kicking it back. They didn't necessarily exist within this one particular player earlier on in the year. So my answer would be like, how often are those intangible sort of no talent required efforts happening? Are they happening often, frequently, and by numerous people within the gym or within the footy team? If not, then that's the area you got to focus on.
But also, what's your scorecard look like? Are you starting to think about maybe my scorecard needs to change? Maybe it needs to start to reflect the NTRs and non-negotiables, not the success, the KPIs, the performance markers, the targets. But I just listening to Zach again, everything's reverse engineered. Yeah. Everything he says is reverse engineered. I put kick pressure on. It's not talent-based. It's not skill-based. It's not an outcome. It's not a performance. But we all know that if I put kick pressure on, their kick is rubbish. I get better field position. We win. That's the outcome. So like the non-negotiables and the basics that we're speaking about are the pathway to the outcome. But if you just, I think what people do is they're focused on this rather than this. And they haven't established in their mind that this is actually going to get them to that. Even if it is far away, kick pressure is the furthest thing away from you getting down the other side of the field and scoring. But if you understand the value of it, then you understand that it's the pathway to the outcome. So then if you understand this and you keep driving this, you know that it creates that inevitable pathway.
Your point, they then become this bloke, like I called him out in front of the team a couple of weeks ago. Mate, he's that hungry to put kick pressure on.
Oh,
And that-
He's frolicking, mate.
Yeah.
It's a bit, then other blokes become. So what's your?
well, there's a marker.
Yeah,
There's a marker. You can, and the same thing happened at the Storm. Like it almost felt like a running joke because you know some of the forwards, it's like we're talking about they're getting frothing about kick pressure. So when you see your team getting that excited about completing a non-negotiable, you can sit back and go, we're doing something right here.
They're excited about non-negotiable.
That's fucking mad. Talent versus culture fit. What matters more?
Oh, it's a very, very easy question. Culture fit for sure.
culture.
Because you would argue that, you know, someone that's talented obviously has this amazing, beautiful skill set, but if the talented person doesn't buy into the culture, that quickly becomes a cancerous disease that you'll never get control back of.
Do you know what's alarming is that on this table, it was an obvious answer. The reason why I asked it, even though it sounded like a stupid question, is because I've never heard, and I know we've worked with 1,500 owners before, I've never heard someone say it's because of the culture fit. What I have heard them say is because they're a weapon trainer, high rocks times, how much they can bench. Like
they're running the good gym up the road, so we'll take them.
Yeah, they're a great Pilates instructor.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that's awesome. But like what was obvious here is not actually obvious out there. And I feel like that is the difference.
Well, pick your pain. Pick your pain. There's going to be pain.
Either way.
I say like people think, and this was in my corporate life, like as they said, Zach, well done. You've done a really good job as a manager. You've now got a second team or a third team.
Yeah.
Every 1 times head count that you manage is a 1 times multiplier of your bloody headaches. Like you've got this person to deal with and help manage. But so you pick your pain. You're hiring someone, you either have short-term pain or long-term pain. And remember, it's contagious as well. Like culture is contagious. So you might have a couple of talented individuals, like those rogue rebels that we've spoken about. That's fine. A lot of teams have that, corporate or sporting. However, if the critical mass are culture carriers, strong culture carriers for you, then you find it's when it tips the other way that you've only got 1 or 2 people who are those culture carriers that you struggle.
And those different people have different problems. The talented person probably has this level of comfort thinking and knowing that, well, I'm sweet. I'm the best coach. I'm not going to be held accountable for these things. I'm untouchable. So it's a different pain and a different problem. You know, there was who's the All Blacks coach? Is it Steve, sort of an old school guy?
Steve Hansen.
Yeah, Steve Hansen. Like he tells this amazing story of having to drop a player, and it was, you know, one of his star players. But I'm pretty sure he had the confidence and belief that this wouldn't work for everyone, but he knew that challenge, he was going to get a certain response. And of course he did.
From a drop player.
Yeah. And he used a beautiful line, change the man or change the man.
What was that?
Change the man or change the man.
If you can't change the man,
Yeah.
Change the
can't
man.
change man,
Or
change the man.
Change the man.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
And I love that. That just really, really struck for me. But I still believe, and he didn't say this, but my interpretation of that was he had an understanding that that's what that person needed. That person who maybe was comfortable and was the star player and the talent, all they needed was to be brought down a little bit, have a short and quick reality check and be challenged, because those type of people, they rise to challenges. You know, you say, I can't do something, they say, fuck you, let me show you. Not everyone's built like that. And that goes back to managing the different personalities.
Change
It's
the
also-
man or change the man.
It's also what sort of a message, and with coaching hat on, what sort of a message does that send to then the rest of your team of what you stand for? You know, and then you tell the leadership group. You know, we had a preseason camp in Wollongong, pretty senior player who'd been a captain in another club. We formed the leadership group. He was one of those leaders. The last night of the camp is the boys can go out, that sort of thing, except we have a beach session at whatever time it is, 5 a.m., right? It's not necessarily what happens at the beach session. It's like you got to front up. We've had all the camp. Really, they don't get flogged in that session. This bloke was late. Okay, so obviously he'd gone out. He'd met a friend and didn't sleep back in the cabins apparently. So 5 a.m., 5:15, 5:30, and I can see the boys doing the session. They're thinking, where's old mate? Let's call him Johnny. Where's Johnny? And the coach and I sort of looked at each other and he sent me a text. He said, "Hey, Beery, I'm so sorry, mate. It's fully on me." And I said, "No stress, mate. Don't bother coming down to the beach. We'll chat about it after." And I sat him down and he said, "Look, I know this is really poor by me. This is a bad first impression. It's not what I'm about." I said, "Mate, totally understand that, but unfortunately you can't be part of our leadership group this year." Now, we then, when we had our wrap up, I had stood up to the group and asked, this is after sitting down with the leadership group, and I said, "Boys, the leaders are going to talk about what's going to happen with," say his name again. Johnny.
Yeah.
So I'd had a full meeting with the leadership group. They then stood up and said he had to sit in a, what's it called? A seated wall lunge position.
Yeah. Wall sit.
A wall sit for the whole next session where our S&C spoke, and he can talk underwater, mouthful of marbles. So he sat there, and then that was like the punishment. But the real punishment was then the players voted on who was going to become the new leader in that leadership group. The person who's taken over that spot has become one of the strongest, most influential leaders in that group. But from that moment, remember, we had a completely new group this year. You don't flinch. It's hard, mate. It's hard. This bloke was a captain at a competing club.
Wow.
One slip up, right? But I sat down with the leadership group and the boys had decided, I knew there had to be a punishment. He can't be part of the leadership group. So, yeah, it's, if you can't change a man, change a man. But mind you, this guy, Johnny, has ended up being great value to the club, like immense value. And you can imagine how much more he's trying to claw his way back now to add value to the boys and show what he can do.
How do you assemble a leadership group in a company, like in one of our studios? So obviously, as an owner, you've got your one person. Let's just start there, and let's say they've got 5 or 6 in the team.
Yep.
Is that?
They've normally got maybe got a manager, maybe got a head trainer, probably 4 people on a pretty, reasonable basis, and then a couple of Johnny casuals as well.
Yeah. I don't think you need to. I think everyone's a leader at that stage. You need to create an environment where they all feel leadership. What does that look like? They've got ownership over something.
Yeah.
If they are, let's say you can, I might say, Ben, your responsibility is, I want this place to look like a bloody medical surgery. I want it to be that pristine. That's your responsibility. Okay. And then how you do that is up to you. That's your form of leadership. So I think for a gym of that size, you don't want to be carving out like 60% of the team, which would be 3
Yeah, I don't think it's possible.
I think everyone's a leader.
You got to establish lanes and responsibilities, and that is their leadership.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I wouldn't have done my job here if I haven't talked about having tough conversations. A lot of our owners and the ones that we've met, they've almost, and I say this term with respect, they've almost become accidental leaders, You would know the journey. It's like they're a trainer, they're an instructor. I love this. I want to do this for the rest of my life. I'll get the keys to the front door. Now I've got a business. Oh, fuck. I'm actually not an instructor anymore. I'm a manager. I've got people chirping at me all day long, and their problems become my problems. And it's just like the typical narrative that you would typically hear from a small business owner. Now, we know that avoiding conflict kills performance, and it kills the culture, because then you're just resentment and there's all the stuff that's been left unsaid. Can we give these guys like a practical framework for how to have and handle tough conversations?
Yeah. One thing personally that I want to reflect on for myself is, firstly, this is consistent for a lot of things, but let's just reframe what we said about these conversations. Because in the past, and I've caught myself, and I'm very grateful that I have the awareness to catch myself in the language that I use, but we just describe this as a hard conversation. So if I've said it's a hard conversation, guess what it's going to be?
Feel like a hard conversation.
That's the first thing that I picked up on myself.
Yeah.
I was on the journey to start having hard conversations because I knew that it wasn't something that I was doing. But when I was explaining it to my partner or a friend, I was saying, I've got to have this hard conversation. So straight away, I was creating an environment and a mindset where I believe this was a hard conversation. This is not a hard conversation. This is a necessary conversation. So that would be my first stop. Secondly, there's a nice little thing that was an entry point from me to go to A to B, not Z. And it was a framework called SIB, which is Situation, Impact, and Behaviour. So what you've got to be very mindful of, and it's not with bad intentions, but a lot of time we talk about how it made me feel, and that's reflected in how you speak to someone. What's the situation? So you throw an example at me.
So,
or just a common thing that we're talking about that would reflect a hard conversation.
Like we've missed sales target 3 weeks in a row.
Okay, cool. So the situation is that we've missed the sales target three times in a row, but that's abroad. So the situation is yesterday in the studio, instead of calling back the lead within our standard, which is 5 to 10 minutes, you were on your phone. So that's the situation. The impact is, unfortunately now we've missed that lead and it's set us back for this week's target. What I need you to do is, rather than neglecting what we need to do and being on your phone, I need you to make sure that we are living up to the behaviors and standards and making that call within the first 5 minutes. So it's not how I felt. It's not what I think you did. It's not a thought. It's not an opinion. This is the situation and where it happened. This is the impact it had. And this is the behavior. So I just use that. This is just me personally. I just use that to hack my way through what I thought was a hard conversation, because it was all based on my opinions and my feelings and what they did.
And just all these emotions,
yeah,
right?
So, and then also when I'm explaining the situation and impact and behavior, it completely changes my tone of voice, because I'm not acting on and explaining my opinions and feelings. It's just very logical.
Objective.
Yes. And so that was my entry point and gateway into being able to have these necessary conversations.
It's a scaffolding, right?
That's such a tangible thing anyone listening to this can have. You see, Shandor's just compartmentalized that with him. There were 2 things there which I loved, mate, and I'm gonna use myself. That great points, nuggets of gold. First one was he created separation between the situation and the person. Okay, so it's not you.
You're not doing your job.
So Ben and I, I'm picking on Ben today, but Ben and I, where if I'm having a difficult conversation with Ben, it's not me having the difficult conversation with him. It's a situation. So what you've done, mate, you've completely compartmentalized that. The second thing you did, and you mentioned it 3 or 4 times, is like, this is what we stand for. Yeah. This is what we agreed to, which is so important. As I said, right back to the very start, you need to define, you need to articulate it and get them to buy into it. So it's driven by them to the point where you can literally point on the wall and say, lock forward. What are your 3 non-negotiables? What did you say you do? What did you rate yourself out of 10? So this is what we.
Because if you don't have that, you can't hold someone accountable.
How do you hold someone accountable to something that's not defined?
Or they don't know.
Or you've never had the conversation. Yeah. So I think the bottom line for a lot of the gym owners here is accept and say, okay, do you know what? This is my aha moment, my light bulb moment. I haven't been good enough in this area. I'm going to carve out this time to have a conversation with my team, show that vulnerability, and say from now on, this is what we're going to do, and it's going to make everyone's lives better.
Well, I want to share one more reframe that really helped me. When I went from the storm to a corporate environment in the franchisor space, I was very frustrated.
Well, yeah.
I was surrounded by athletes every day. What do you think their mindset is?
Right, the best.
They didn't have a problem with hard work, non-negotiable standards. All of a sudden, I was thrown into an environment where that's the complete opposite. And I genuinely, I look back and I eventually clicked, and I was angry at myself because I was constantly angry and frustrated. So I reframed it. And my reframe was, I accepted that this person has not been exposed to the same environments and conditioning that I have. So I took away the frustration because I removed the person from the situation. Then I felt like because I have, it is now my responsibility to try and expose that person. So that allowed me to shift my perspective on what they're doing, what I'm doing, what I expect and what they expect. Because how can I expect something from someone? I've had all these great moments and opportunities and mentoring, but they haven't. It's not their fault. But the next thing I had was, by me not having the necessary conversation with you, I have robbed you of the opportunity to react the right way. What a disservice. I haven't even given you I don't know what the outcome will be. What if I had this hard conversation and you said, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
I accept that. I take ownership. I'm going to be better.
That happens more often than not.
Yeah, completely.
Happens more often than
Imagine,
not.
and I've not been giving that person an opportunity. What an injustice.
Yeah, and
So that changed my whole perspective.
that's a sharp point. Because there's like the thing that we've seen is like if you don't deal with conflict, your best people will leave and the average ones typically stay, because
You're accepting it.
You're accepting it. And the ones that want to actually be part of a high performing environment realize they're not getting the communication. They're not getting the push. They're not getting the growth.
Just like Zach did with his captain, you also understand that if you're trying to develop or be a part of a high performance culture, guess what? You don't get 10 opportunities. If I come to you and have a discussion and you react poorly, I ain't doing that again. It ain't happening. And if I want you to be able to have a discussion with me, the next time you come around and want to do the same thing, I get one shot to build that trust and respect.
Yeah.
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
So you want to come in and we're talking about this new environment and culture that you want to change. You have to be very mindful and intentional with those initial opportunities.
And your consistency.
Yeah, of course it has to be consistent, but don't even think about having a discussion with someone if you're not willing to do the same. So if you're on the other side of that, be very mindful and intentional of the opportunity that you have to build trust and respect with that person when they come to you. And then also when that opportunity comes to you, make sure you are equally as intentional and understanding. Because if you do that, the first time sets you up for, okay, now you've created an environment and space. And then of course, it's short-lived if it's not consistent.
Is there anything we haven't mentioned yet before we wrap it up?
No, I honestly think like it's okay. If you're a gym owner and you haven't been doing this, it's okay. It's normal.
Yeah, it's so normal.
It's
You know,
it's 4:30 on a Friday afternoon. I want to drive back to work, kick it all down, and fucking get to work. Fine up.
Yeah, good, mate.
There's heaps to do.
It's great.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I think the reason, and I'd love Zach's opinion on this, the reason I'm so passionate about this, if this was unattainable and hard and impossible, why would I be passionate about it? If I didn't think it could be achieved, I know it can and I know it's simple. I know it's simple because I've done it and I've lived it and I've been a part of it. Right now, you're listening, you don't think it's that simple, but I'm so passionate about it because I believe that if you can shift someone's mindset and impact them as a person and their behavior, all of the great things in any role, in any business will lead to success. But it's the person. The moment I grew up and I matured and I seen things through that lens, everything changed for me. And it goes back to that one saying that I love and I live by, which is how you do anything is how you do everything. And once you start to see things through that, just going back to that paper analogy, like I feel like a piece of shit if I walk past the smallest piece of paper on the ground. When you get to that point, everything matters and you see everything as an opportunity. So because I believe it's attainable, because I believe it's simple, I'm extremely passionate about trying to do that with other people and coach other people to understand that. And if you can get to that point, that's the floor, that's the non-negotiable. I think all good things can come from that, including success.
The silver lining, once you get that, the momentum that you get, it's like it becomes like a bloody machine.
Wow.
When you're got a team-driven environment that's high-performing, that is driven from within, right through to those habits, rituals, standards, behaviors, to genuinely performing high. You can exit yourself out of the gym, per se, use that as an example, almost watch on your CCTV footage and see those habits, rituals, behaviors. Then you can turn the bloody thing off because you know it's happening. Then you know you've arrived. So getting past the fat of this, as Shandor said, like this is your ground floor. Once you get through there, level 2, 3, 4, 5, it starts to hum and really work as like a little machine. Culturally, we're talking about.
Because then it's driven by the person,
Yeah.
their personal standards, their personal pride. I don't need to be led. I don't need to be managed. This becomes about me now. I'm holding myself accountable to the standards because these are my standards. They're not the gym standards. They're not the business standards. These are mine. And how I do everything is through those standards. And then as Zach said, you can exit the room, but that's the goal.
And you attract the high performers. That's the best thing. Then you say, why do you want to come here and work at this gym? Because I've heard great things about what it's like to work here.
Zach, Shandor,
Awesome, boys.
thank you,
So-
boys.
Yeah, I love that. I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful to be here as well and sit down and talk with you guys and Zach. It was awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Mate.
Thanks,
yeah,
brother.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you,
Cheers.
boys. That
Legends.
was great.
That
Thanks,
was
Shandor.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome, man.
Cheers, man.
listeners. Even like, I think we're going to even shift some things.
I think so.
I'm excited.
Yeah. This is good.
We can stare at the scoreboard all we want. Listeners, we can kind of, worry about the numbers and all this kind of stuff. But if you build culture first, everything else will compound. Thanks again, boys.
Thank you.
We're up.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If something resonated with you, then do one of two things. Either leave a review or send this episode to a mate who's in the industry who might need to hear this. But if you want more right now, because your head might be spinning and you're like, all right, what the hell do I do right now? Then in the show notes, you'll find a link to where you can book in for a free 15-minute checkup on your studio, where we get to have a look at how you're going right now and where some of the kind of quick win opportunities are to get you moving faster. I can't wait to be back in your ears next week. And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to know that I love you, I appreciate you, I'm grateful for you, and I'm in your corner. You are on the right track and I believe in you. So keep going, and I'll see you next week.